Welcome back here today on the beautiful campus of Florida Panhandle Technical College. It's raining. Up till today it's been sunny. To the west of us, Texas is getting inundated. A hurricane is still dumping lots of water. They don't even know the extent to which they'll be damaged. They are certainly on our minds, and on a rainy day like this, we certainly need to have nothing to complain about. Our guest today is Trey Hawkins, currently the District 3 Commissioner in Washington County, Florida. Today we're going to talk to Trey a little bit about Washington County. It hasn't been that long that Trey has been in office, since just the first of this year, and already we've seen great leaps and bounds. We've got a great County Board of Commissioners, in my estimation. When we come back, we're going to talk to Trey a little bit about his thoughts about why that board is able to make the strides that they have, why they've been able to make the improvements that they have, and maybe at the end of this you'll have a little bit more information about exactly what they are doing. Exciting times for Washington County and Chipley, Florida. When we come back, we're going to talk about all this and more, and we will be right back. Welcome back. As mentioned, our guest today is Trey Hawkins. We just finished up Kiwanis lunch. You had the opportunity to address that sitting group of people. Since your election, we've had the opportunity to have you on a couple of times, try to get an update of what's going on. First of all, for me personally, thanks for all that you do. That's a thankless job. You and the other four guys sitting up on that dais. You're certainly not there for the money. If you were, shame on you for the pittance that they pay you for the amount of time that goes into it. Tell you what, for those viewers who may not have had the opportunity to see you in a previous episode, how about catching us up from that time that you did take office? Actually, you took office in November. Talk a little bit about what's transpired, Trey, and maybe how it's living up to your expectations. This may be one I may ask one question in 30 minutes from now.
Yeah, we'll get into that one.
Yeah, but how about giving us a little bit of thumbnail sketch about what's going on?
Well, first of all, I do appreciate my time with the Kiwanis. Man, that is such a wonderful group of people, like-minded people, community-oriented, community servants, and I appreciate every opportunity I get to speak with them, and I appreciate the opportunity of being a part of them. And you mentioned our pay a while ago. I appreciate every dollar Washington County gives me. They overpay me because it's a job that I love. If you do this for the pay, you're not doing it for the right reasons. But I do appreciate every tax dollar the constituents of Washington County throw my way, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate the job. But you asked me since November. This show ain't long enough, you know. But I have a board of county commissioners that has bought in to Washington County. They're a great group of guys. Great employees that we have for Washington County. And everything that we go at headstrong. I said in the meeting a while ago with Kiwanis, since November we've had 2 votes that did not go 5-0. And that's not because we're sweeping issues under the rugs, but we're having such great workshops. And when you have a group of men that people that are like-minded, that are willing to debate and willing to pull their part of their idea and part of this one's idea, make it a collaborative idea that everyone can agree upon and that we see is the best for Washington County, it makes for a great working board.
And let me just interrupt you for a moment. At lunch, we alluded to some of those older day county commission meetings that lasted 4 and 5 and 6 hours. Yeah. Isn't that the reason for the workshop to start with? If you can become at least on the same page, if not just to agree to disagree, so that the meetings kind of go a little more quickly, but that you can get a consensus.
Absolutely, and what I like to see happen is just what's happening. The community is understanding what we're doing. The community's buying into it. You know, this board, it works so well together, and it continues to grow, and through our workshops, we've had great discussions where we pull a piece of this idea and a piece of that idea, and we come up with a great idea together. And everyone is a team player. And Washington County, the constituents of Washington County has bought into it. And they understand it. Everyone's excited about the growth of Washington County, where Washington County is going to be in the future. And it's just an exciting time here in Washington County.
Do you think that the reason you are able to get not just a consensus, but that spirit of teamwork, that collaborative effort that has been bearing fruit, is that you have a preponderance of men on that board who are businessmen, who run their lives and their businesses just in that fashion. So naturally they bring business sense and that spirit of running a business to the county. For years, people have said the county and the city should be run like businesses. This is the first time in my experience here, the 12 years I've been here, that I have seen that happen in Washington County.
We understand. We understand that the ad valorem tax is the most unfair tax there is, period. You have a small portion of people paying for the majority of the revenues. For the
About
county.
30%.
Yeah, 30 to 40%. That number fluctuates year to year, but it's relatively, you can bet on them numbers. And together, we're looking for any way that we can offset the ad valorem, lower the ad valorem where it's digestible by the constituents of Washington County, but still make it where everyone's paying a little. If everyone pays a little, then the smaller the pies, the smaller the piece of pie everyone has to swallow. And you've heard the franchise fee. Well, that's the way that everyone has power. So if everyone pays a small portion of it, we can lower our millage rate and make it where everyone can digest the pie easier, and everyone has the same amount. We don't have to cut services. I would never come on this board and want to cut one service that Washington County offers, because the few that we offer are very important to the people that receive them. And since we've been in office, we've seen the needs of our municipalities. Whenever I was on the board of the city of Vernon, we had 200, 250 kids that played sports every year, and about 17% of them children lived inside the city limits of Vernon. But we accommodated all. So the Board of County Commissioners understood it. They got involved with it. They've implemented, they've set back monies for each child that plays sports in that selected municipality. And it's fair that way, that we're going to go off the previous year's numbers, and we hope that number goes up every year. I want to see more kids involved with a good coach, with a mentor that they can spend time with, because some parents work so much, and rightfully so. That's the American dream. The harder you work, the more you get, the more you acquire. But at the same time, sometimes our children are left at home unattended, and they're just sitting there idle. If we can get them out with a good mentor, I think it's going to save, in the future, our sheriff's department is going to have less calls, because crime will go down, because they're getting the good mentorship that they need to. But that's the services that is so important to our county commissioners to make better. And they are. And like I said, I have a great board to work with.
Let's talk about some of the more recent things that have been happening. Back about a month ago, you had the opportunity to sit down with Senator George Gaynor, and you scheduled meetings, I think at 20-minute intervals or whatever it was, with all of the municipalities within Washington County,
Yes.
giving you that opportunity to meet with them and find out their needs in respect with the monies that you actually had to spend, and George was able to answer some of those questions. Talk about how that transpired.
Listen, when I was sitting on the board of City of Vernon, I'd have gave my last dollar to be able to do that, just for the simple reason that you're working your tail off, and it seems like no one will listen. No one wants to hear the needs of the smaller municipalities, and there are justified needs. We went from the municipalities of needing a $500,000 or $1 million spray field to the needs of a municipality needing a tractor. That is just a variety of different needs, and it's unique needs. And the tractor to the municipality that needed it was just as important to the spray field as the city that needed the spray field. And that's what we have to convey to our senator. And what a senator do we have. Man, Senator Gaynor, my hat's off to that man. He works diligently throughout his district, works tirelessly, got a great staff, got 2 Washington County ladies on the staff that works just as hard as they can for our constituents. And what a time to be a commissioner when you have that kind of person that you can lean on. You got Representative Drake, same way. Pick a phone call up. It never falls on deaf ears. He's working on it. A lot of times people want instantaneous results. Unfortunately, in today, that don't happen. I'd love to snap my fingers and our thoroughfares be finished, our 77 project, our 79 project, and we've made multiple calls on that to try to get it expedited. But unfortunately, we're dealing with a contractor, state contractor, and as a county commissioner, you've got very little power other than the power of speech and talking to someone and trying to persuade them to expedite as much as they can. But ultimately, in the day, it's their job to do, and you back off and you let our state representatives and to do their job.
Sort of the nature of the beast when you have as large and relatively poor rural county as Washington, not dissimilar from the counties to our east and west, but when you have that large of a county, you've got communities like Ebro and Caryville that at times almost feel like the rest of Washington County has forgotten about them because they outlie and they're hard to get to. They're sometimes out of sight, out of mind. It seemed like that meeting went a long way toward encouraging those communities.
It did, and it empowered them. They have a voice, and I receive calls from them, maybe not weekly, but definitely bi-monthly. I receive a call from either one of their commissioners or their town clerk asking a question, asking how can we help them, or what would I do in this situation? And I value them conversations with them because that means they're working. That means they're trying to make their small part of this county better. And I encourage it. I'm excited about it. And I like being a part of that.
More recently, a couple of weeks ago, you were finally able to bring to fruition a concept whereby, very simply, each of the municipalities would be able to have on hand all of the forms necessary to apply for permits, to apply for something as disparate as a building permit or septic tank, so that they wouldn't have to make all of these individual trips back to the county seat, which is Chipley. Talk about how that progressed.
Let me tell you how it happened. The story how it happened is pretty funny now after it's happened. I was traveling through my district, through Vernon, and we're having an establishment being remodeled. And I seen our building inspector there, and I knew it was getting close to them being finished with their project. And I thought it would be nice for me to stop by and tell them congratulations and welcome to Vernon for business, and just really just be a face to help them any way I could. Well, I got there and couldn't find the owner and couldn't find the building inspector, and finally I come around the back of the building, and he was getting in his truck, and I said, hey, Mr. Whipple, I said, everything good? I said, we've got a CO? He said, no, sir, they don't have a permit. And I just don't have a permit. So I talked with the owner, and the owners went to the municipality to pull their permit. Well, the municipality told them they didn't issue permits, which is completely true. They don't issue permits.
So they presumed one wasn't necessary.
Presumed that for this instance, being it's in the city of Vernon, home rule takes effect, and it's not necessary. Completely not their fault, and not the city's fault. It was just the message wasn't completely conveyed. So I went back to our commissioners, spoke with them in the commission meeting, and they were all for it. They were excited about it. They thanked me for bringing it back to them, and each and every one of them understood the importance of it. And again, I received the accolades on this, but it was a collaborative effort from all of our commissioners understanding the importance of us getting out and getting the information. How can we hold a constituent accountable if we don't provide them the information? So we sat down August the 9th and went to our municipalities and sat down with them and give them a booklet of how to build in Washington County. Each booklet had the permits that was necessary for this project, so on and so forth, and also give them the contact information for our planning department. And so they could walk them, if they needed a question answered, they could walk them through step by step of what permits application to give them. The people are able to take it home, fill it out at their leisure, get the documents required, whether it be a legal description or a survey, and bring it to Chipley in one fell swoop, and leave there that day with a permit in their hand. And at the end of the day, that's our job as commissioners, to make policies and procedures that is best suited for our county. And that's just one instance that how this commission is working.
As recently as this morning, you held a sort of an informal meet and greet. All of the building contractors in the area in Washington County were invited to come meet Dana Whipple, the new building official. Talk about how that was designed.
Well, and we're talking a lot about the building department. We took over we brought the 911 back a couple months ago to help the transition of our building department team, where it'll be a one-stop shop. Let
me stop you. You said you brought 911 back. Talk what that means.
Okay, we brought the 911 mapping part back, not the 911 where you call in 911 and somebody takes your emergency and dispatches law enforcement, fire, ambulance. We brought the mapping portion of it back for the driveways and so on and so forth, because we felt it was important to have everybody in one building. So if you come to build in Washington County, you don't travel. You stay in our annex, you get your permits that you're needing, You go across, and if there's an issue with your driveway, if you have more than 3 residents on it and you don't have to name the road, you leave there with the knowledge of what's going to transpire that day about your building in Washington County. And so when we brought that back, the board, we kind of drew straws of who was going to take on the building department, and I sat at the far end, so by the time the straws got to me, it was a stacked deck, and I received the short straw. That's a joke. I felt it as an honor that my board had enough confidence in me to ask me would I help expedite our building process, and I took it on wholeheartedly. I want the best building department in the state of Florida. And today was a little disappointing. I had multiple contractors talk to me about compliance issues and permit issues, and it's always been on one-on-one basis, and no one ever else has been there to answer the questions. I don't know all the answers to their questions. I don't pull permits. That's not what my job is. So I thought, and the planning department thought, our building official, Mr. Whipple, great man, and he said, well, we could hold a meet and greet or question answers, so everyone, if contractor A has the same question contractor B, we can answer both of them at the same time, and then they can elaborate on it, and we could find a common ground, and we could find out how to make our building. It wasn't very well attended, but I think it may have been because of the time we held it today. And we're going to work through that. We're going to come back in-house, regroup, and come back at it a different way, because it's important to us as commissioners and you as constituents to be able to build the easiest you can in Washington County.
Well, in all fairness, there's never a good time or day for everybody. So you started the process,
Yeah.
and now it's just a matter of adding dates.
Yeah.
The one thing that I took away from that whole process was that now the building contractors know that you're serious
Yeah.
about sitting down and discussing it. So they'll see the story, and hopefully they'll say, I missed that one. We were busy, or we couldn't have made it. Let's figure it out. I would imagine, and I would think that maybe the planning department should maybe poll some of those builders and say, what's a good day and time? Maybe have to do it after hours.
They did. They done the best they could. Our building department did this time, and they're concerned. Our employees want to be the best, and that goes a long ways. When you have an employee that understands that how important their job is for economic growth of Washington County, and they want to do the best they can, and they want to make everything as best they can, and their division, their office, they will. And like I said, we had the weather coming in with contractors buttoning up things before the weather comes in. So today was just a kind of a day that just had everything going against it, but it didn't deter us one bit. We got big shoulders. We'll brush it off, and we'll come back at it a different way and make this thing work for all the contractors.
This is the final thing I'd like to talk about today anyway, and that's that just recently the county commission gave the nod to changing our alcohol guidelines to conform with the states.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have misconceptions. A lot of people have contacted us and said, does that mean we're wet now? Does that mean that we're going to have honky tonks up and down 79 and 77? Tell us in a thumbnail fashion exactly how that transpired, what it is you accomplished, and more importantly, the importance of it.
The moral compass of Washington County is something that I'd never change. The fabric of Washington County is what's led my family to live here for generations, and what's going to lead my future family to live here for generations. We live, work, and worship right here in Washington County, and wouldn't change that for nothing in the world. We like our moral fabric. We like the ability to go to the store and know everyone in the store, everyone know my kids in the store, and watch out for my kids whenever I'm not necessarily there. So let's start there. As a commission, we're never going to change that. We tasked our EDC, and they've done a wonderful job with bringing back policies and procedures, ordinances, resolutions that the county has set forth in the past that could be impediments to growth. Well, one of the impediments, and we changed a magnitude of them, but one of the impediments that drew the most attention was our setback in our alcohol sales. The alcohol sales went from 2,000 foot to 500 foot, but we added a very important clause into the referendum or into the ordinance. The clause is that 51% of your retail sales has to come from some other entity than spirits. You have to have a full working kitchen for any time that alcohol is being served on the premises. Alcohol sales shuts down at 12 o'clock midnight. Alcohol sales shuts down at 12 o'clock midnight. The property has got to be zoned commercial. So we are looking at any way that we can keep the negative derivatives of alcohol out of Washington County, but also have the ability for our restaurants, our white tablecloth restaurants, to come to Washington County and build. 67% of our discretionary monies leave Washington County every day. 44% of the millennials, 44% of their food dollars is spent eating out. 40% of the baby boomers are spent eating out. And them results were from 2014. And that's with a 10.7% increase from 2010. So it just tells you it's going up annually. So what we're trying to do as a commission is we're targeting the people that's traveling east and west on I-10 and north and south on 77 and 79 to get them to stop. Get them to stop and spend part of their discretionary income in Washington County, along with the other constituents of Washington County, to be able to spend their part of the discretionary. High tide floats all boats. If we can keep discretionary tax in Washington County, that our revenues, or not discretionary tax, we keep our discretionary revenues in Washington County, then that gives us the opportunity to look at different avenues to lower our millage rate, look at different avenues to increase our services that we offer. And it's not that we're ever looking at to do anything derogatory to our moral fibers or our moral compass.
And I'm sure a lot of our viewers are going to be very, very happy to hear you say just that. It's been common knowledge. It's certainly been disseminated by the media. However, some people choose to read into those words what they want to hear. It's arguable that we have had absolutely no economic development in Washington County for the last 10 or 15 years. Probably more like 10 or 12. Right about the time the bubble burst, there was a lot of projects that were in the works. A lot had been permitted. Mm-hmm. Some projects were halfway out of the ground. We saw this all over Northwest Florida, and things came to a thud, and there was a giant sucking noise as all those dollars that were there for development left. This seems like it's going to be the missing component, which, put together with the extension south of Interstate 10 of the 77 corridor and the new 79 business development with Bonifay, Holmes County, and Washington County, to really be able to revive that patient.
It's a part, and it's a large part. But the greatest part is our municipality of Chipley. They have bared the burden of $400,000 of their economic growth money to put their water and sewer to the south side of the interstate. That was without any help from our county commissioners. And they've seen the need. Now, since we've took office, we've joined forces, joined arm to arm, and working on a collaborative effort to get it what we need. You know, just recently we wrote a resolution to help the city of Chipley in order to keep them from having to do bores underneath the roads that were going to be re-aproned by the widening of 77. We allowed them to do saw cutting to save themselves the bore charges, and just to make it the project the most palatable and easy to digest for the taxpayer of Washington County and the city of Chipley. So it's important to us. But to allude back to what you said a while ago about our alcohol ordinance, I will tell you this, that I spoke to multiple pastors, and they've called me and voiced concerns and voiced their displeasure of it. And we have sat down and discussed it topic by topic on our ordinance. And at the end of the conversation with them, that they have understood it, you know, and that is so refreshing that they understood what we're attempting to do. Not necessarily did they go wholeheartedly like it, but they understood it. And at the end of the day, that's what we're there for, to make the best policies and procedures for the majority of Washington County and make it where we are keeping what we have and what we love and what we cherish in Washington County as wholesome as we possibly can.
Thank you for taking the time today. Just in our pre-show time, I think you took 6 phone calls as we were sitting there trying to get ready for this taping. So I know you're busy. So believe that we appreciate the time. But at the same time, let me say that let's reserve the right to get you back in soon.
Absolutely.
There's a lot going on, and it bears letting people know. I think that the worst thing that our voter constituency can think is that they're being ignored.
Yes, sir.
that and the perception is reality. If they hear nothing, they presume nothing is going on. In reality, you guys are like a duck on the surface of the water, gliding serenely along on the top and on the bottom beating furiously. It sounds like you've got lots going on, more than we could even talk about in 30 minutes today. So hopefully you'll be back. We can talk about more of that good news from Washington County.
I sure appreciate it, Paul. As always, thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thanks, sir.
Our guest today has been Trey Hawkins, Commissioner in Washington County for District 3. We're talking about Washington County. We're talking about Chipley, Florida, all the exciting things. Interestingly, just in the last 10 years, 3 close friends of mine who relocated from the same area from which we came, which was Panama City Beach, have moved to Washington County. All 3 of them tell us, in part, it's because of all of the photo and video of all the good stuff that's happening up here. I won't take the credit for that, but I guarantee you, come spend some time with us, you'll be a believer. This is a great place to live, a great place to work, great place to raise a family. In our case, we're in our graying years, and I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else in the world. We'll be right back.